Lucifron. One tank takes Lucifron and faces him away from the raid, while another tank pulls the Flamewaker protectors and faces them away from the raid. All DPS should focus the protector adds first. Random people will get mind controlled by Dominate Mind. This is a magic effect that should be dispelled. Ranged heals can also stay 20 yards away from the protector adds to not get mind controlled. Once they're dead, focus Lucifron. He'll cast Impending Doom on the raid. This is a magic effect that should be dispelled as much as possible to reduce damage. He'll also cast Lucifron's Curse on the raid. This should be decursed as much as possible, with healers and tanks being priority. Magmadar. Random patches of fire will spawn under people. Move out of them. Melee will constantly get magma spit on them. Healers need to be aware of this to keep them alive. All range and healers should stay at roughly max range to not get feared by panic. This will fear melee and tanks. Berserking Rage out of it or Fear Warding is very useful. Magmadar will frenzy and it needs to be dispelled by a Hunter's Trank Shot, which the previous boss dropped the tome for. It's optimal to have two Hunters go back and forth dispelling it, since frenzy seems to happen every 10 to 15 seconds. Gehennas. One tank takes the boss and faces him away from the raid, while another tank pulls the Flamewaker adds and faces them away from the raid. All DPS should focus the Flamewaker adds first. Rain of Fire will come down, get out of that. Melee and the tanks will randomly get hit by Fist of Ragnaros from the adds. If you have some way to get out of stuns, then use it. The raid will get affected by Gehennas' Curse. This needs to be dispelled as much as possible if you have an ability that can, prioritizing the tanks first. Garr. Prior to the fight, assign as many warlocks as you have to banish his adds, and keep them banished through the fight. There are 8 adds. If you have any that are not banished, your DPS should focus them one by one until you only have banished ones up, at which point focus Garr. With the adds, tank them about 15 yards from Garr, and melee should move away from them before the add dies, since it explodes on death and knocks you back. Kill Garr, then kill the rest of the adds. Baron Geddon. All ranged healers should stack at one point, and the boss should be tanked at least 15 yards from the group. The raid will get affected by Ignite Mana. It's a magic effect that should be dispelled off, prioritizing healers, then other mana users. Baron Geddon will cast Inferno, which is a ground AoE. Your melee should run back to the ranged group until it's over, then run back into DPS. A random player will get Living Bomb. It's extremely important that that player runs out of the group to let it explode. They will be shot in the air, so healers should make sure that the Living Bomb target is healed up before it goes off. If this goes off in the group, it's a wipe. Shazzrah. Split your group into 2 giant stacks. One tank should run in and tank Shazzrah where he is. Range should focus the boss, and melee, you're going to have to sit back and relax because of Arcane Explosion, which will decimate you. Raid will also get affected by Shazzrah's Curse, which should be dispelled if you can dispel curses. He'll also give himself Deaden Magic, which should be dispelled if you have an offensive magic dispel. Every 25 to 30 seconds, he will blink to one of the stacks of the raid. The tank in that pile should taunt the boss and keep him there, while that stack of the raid runs to where the boss started. Once the boss gets to about 20% health, your melee should run in for execute phase. Golmag the Incinerator. Start off with 2 hunters on each side. They'll pull each of the dogs back to 1 tank on each side, then a 3rd tank will run in and tank the boss. Melee, including the tanks, will get affected by Magma Splash as they hit the boss, which reduces armor and increases fire damage taken. Random Pyroblasts will go out for your healers to look out for. If melee are taking too much damage, they should stop attacking the boss to let Magma Splash fall off. If your tank is taking too much damage, then you can always have a 4th tank taunt off, or have 1 tank take the Core Hounds and 2 tanks on the boss. Sulfuron Harbinger. Have 1 tank take the boss, another tank take the Flamewaker Priests, then a 3rd tank pull the Flamewaker Priests from the other tank one by one. This solo Flamewaker Priest has to be more than 60 yards from the others, so they can't heal it with Dark Mending. Every time you see it casting Dark Mending, it needs to be interrupted. DPS should focus the solo priest each time a new one is pulled back. They'll inflict Immolate on the tank they're attacking. It's magic, so dispel it if you can. They'll also affect random raid members with Shadow or Pain. Dispel that if you can, it's also magic. Once they're all dead, focus Sulfuron Harbinger. He'll randomly hit melee with Hand of Ragnaros, stunning them. Healers, make sure to spot heal them and free yourself from stuns if you can. Majordomo Executus. You'll assign 4 mages to polymorph each of the priests at the start of the encounter. 1 tank will pull the leftmost elite, another tank will hold Majordomo, and another tank will hold the other elites. If you have more than 3 tanks, then you can spread them amongst the elites. If the adds get a bluish shield on them, all spellcasters should stop single target casting on the add, or you might kill yourself. And they should instead spam their AoEs to damage the adds. If they get a purplish shield, it will just do a little more damage to the raid that needs to be healed through. Players will also randomly get hit by Shadow Shocks, Fire Blasts, shadow bolts, and fireballs that healers should look out for and spot heal. Also, players will randomly get ported to the center lava pile. Run out of that immediately. Once the first elite is dead, that tank should pull one of the polymorphed healers. Then once that healer is dead, pull the next healer until all the healers are dead. Then your group should move on to the elites. Once all the ads are dead, the fight is over. Ragnaros. Your group should have every fire resistance buff possible. Before the fight, your range and healer should spread out 10 yards apart around the crescent. Stack up in groups of 2 if you have to. You'll need at least 2 tanks because someone must be within melee range of them at all times or Magma Blast will wipe your group. Ragnaros will periodically cast Wrath of Ragnaros. A few seconds before this, your melee should back up from him to not get knocked back. Your tank can't do that or else Magma Blast happens. So your other tank runs in once the first tank gets knocked back. Randomly through the encounter, ranged or healers will get hit by Hand of Ragnaros, knocking them back and anyone within 10 yards, possibly in the lava. Immediately get back on land if this happens. 3 minutes into the fight, Rag will submerge. He'll become unattackable at this point and summon a bunch of Son of Flame ads. Warlock should banish as many as possible, mages should Frost Nova to keep them rooted. Mana casters, especially healers, should stay away from them due to their lava shield buff that will drain your mana. Defeat them all, and then Ragnaros comes back up. Defeat him, GG.